All right, so today what we're going to be looking at is Activity 3.7 Statistical Analysis with Excel. Now, I did a little bit of pre-work on this with some class data. So if you read over the procedure, it says perform a statistical analysis in Excel of height measurements of students in your class. It says to open an Excel workbook and in your notebook record the height of each student in your class in feet and inches to the nearest quarter of an inch. Input the raw data into an Excel worksheet using a separate column for feet and a separate column for inches. Include appropriate data column headers. So I did all of this over here already just so we can have our data to work with. Now you're going to obviously collect your own data, and then once you have that input, you can continue watching the screencast. All right, so number 4 says use a formula to convert each height to decimal feet and place the results in column C and include an appropriate column heading. So I already have a column heading of decimal feet. Now what this is asking you to do is to create a function. So if I click on cell C5, I'm going to create a function. Now, functions always start with an equal sign. So I'm going to hit equals, and I want this function to be copyable. So I'm going to select a cell number, in this case A5 because I want feet, and then I'm going to hit the plus because I want feet plus inches. Now, put my inches in parentheses. So I'm going to select my cell B5 with my inches and then divide by 12 because I want that in decimal feet. Close my parentheses. And so the function reads equals A5, which is feet, plus B5, which is inches, and then divide by 12. So I hit enter, and it returns a value of 5.63 feet. Now, I want to copy this formula all the way down. So if I go drag my mouse till I get this little cross here in the bottom right corner of the cell, then I can drag that down and it will copy the formula, copy the function, and it will calculate all the way down based on my data. So now would be a good time to go ahead and save. So that's an introduction to functions. Then it says, format the height measurements in decimal feet to show 2 decimal places. So if I highlight all of my height measurements, then I can right click and I get format cells. I go to number, and number says 2 decimal places. So I'm going to hit OK. That prevents a lot of extra decimals. Number 6, in the cell just below the column of heights in decimal feet, record the sum of the height using the sum function. Then format the cell containing the sum to display a box around the number and add the text sum equals in the cell. Notice the sum should display to 2 decimal places. So I'm going to write another function. So I'm going to hit equals, and I'm going to type the word sum, and I always want to start with a open parenthesis and then highlight all of my data that I need. So all of my decimal feet, close the parenthesis, then I hit enter. And so I get a sum total of all of the feet, all the decimal feet. I'll clean this up here a little bit and just add a thick box border all the way around. All right, next, calculate the statistics indicated in the image to the right. Create the text labels in the appropriate cells. So I've already created my text labels. So let's go ahead and create the formulas. And we're going to use functions again. So for mean, I'm going to hit equals. And Excel uses average. So if I start typing average, I double click. And then once again, I'm going to highlight my decimal feet data, close my parenthesis, and I get 5.67. Now, notice for mode, okay, it says if your data has more than one mode, use the mode.mult function. And if it only has one mode, then use single. So if I look through my data, we'll see if it has some repeated numbers. So I'll go equals. I'll start typing mode. Let's try multi first. And then once again, I will highlight my decimal feet, close my parentheses. Okay, and it does have a multi-mode function. So notice how my mode is a little bit different than my mean. Okay, standard deviation is the next one. So this asks for stdev.p. So I'll hit equals. Once again, I'll start typing, and I'll double click stdev, standard deviation of a population, highlight my data, and hit enter. So my standard deviation is 0.26 feet. Now it asks for a single standard deviation. So I'll do the same thing, hit equals, stdev, this time I want .s, then I'll highlight my data again, close the parenthesis, and notice how the single standard deviation is a little bit different. Moving on to minimum, equals, start typing min, and once again highlight my decimal feet data, close the parenthesis. Median, I'm going to do the same thing. We'll click on median, highlight data. So as you can see, Excel is doing math for us with these functions. Max, and I'll close the parentheses there, get a maximum. Now for range, this is a little bit different. Range is maximum minus minimum. There's no specific function for range, but I can just type equals and then highlight the cell with my maximum, put the minus sign in, and then select the cell with my minimum and hit enter for a range. So my range here is 0.92 feet, or a little bit less than 1 foot. So once you get all that, you can save, and we'll continue this with part 2 of statistical analysis with Excel here in just a minute.